Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. What an amazing year that we are having. What an amazing month we are having. The subject matters today are going to be in detail and very lengthy. All of my students, including the patrons, including the champions and my service processors, as well as my students at large, are to watch this in its entirety. This also includes the entire world and the de facto governments, including all bureaucracies. In other words, the executive, the legislators, and the judiciary are to take note. Listen very carefully. The judicial notices that my service processors and you as the champions have been servicing all around the world has caused a shockwave in their system. The reason why that is because when you pull up a liar on their lies, they got nowhere else to hide. So just to remind you what these words are and how devastating it is to the legislators, to the executors, as well as the judiciary. When you are asked to be so very proud as a black man, that word operates in the back of your mind as a dead or slave. That's the command word. And hence, Nelson Mandela and all of those types of people have got you feeling to be so proud to be black. And then, of course, to get the Caucasian races, so-called races, to defend that word, knowing full well what that word is doing in the back of your mind is the direct opposite of what is running in your conscious mind by connotation, presumption, and assumption. When they use the Black's Law Dictionary, it is saying that it's the law for the dead. You understand what Black's Law Dictionary is? It is the law for the dead. That's why they apply it to you, because they are saying that you are dead. Remember what that word means. When your name is written in all capitals, and since you've taken out judicial notices in newspapers, have served embassies, police stations across the world, they now know what it means to write a name in all capitals. Even the word white means that you are of North African origin and therefore you have no nativity. No nativity in the land that you are in. The word solicitor, and most of you in this country as well as other countries have been solicited, which is another name for a solicitor. A lawyer is nothing more than a licensed to lie, as in licensed to kill. The word Nigerian or Nigeria, that has put a bullet hole into these people's heads that created such monstrosity, because Nigerian means to be dead. Their currency is the currency for the dead. The river Niger, Niger, means floating the dead, where they float the dead. All these words are now in the general public's domain, purging itself out of your brain system, so you never feel proud to be floated as the dead. The word Negro, that is so often spoken about, this Martin Luther King, from now on he will have no federal holiday whatsoever, because they know what the word Negro means. It means to be dead. Ask any Portuguese Ask any Latin speaking. Ask any dictionary. When they swear on the oath, like when you so often have, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, you are essentially blaspheming and cursing, because that's what swearing means. When you put your signature, it is a facsimile to do evil upon others. A mortgage, a pledge by the debt. Human rights, which are monstrous rights. Governments, which means controlled lies. Parliament, which means speaks lies. Pharmaceutical, makers of poisons and potions. And person, how they keep on insisting that you are a person, which means that you are nothing more than an actor undergoing a script written out by a house of lies called Parliament. Personage, where they write out your name, which is not your name, that resembles you, because human rights allows the resemblance. It's called personage. That's what human rights means. It means resembles a monster, may resemble a person. Barratry, to bring in false charges using those names in courts. And you have to listen to everything I have to say, and this may last 2.5 hours, this broadcast. Calendar, which is the book of debtors. That's why they ask you to use the 30-day rule, the 3-day rule, the 14-day working rules. These are all there to say that you are a debtor. The original calendar was 13 months, as in the 12 disciples and Jesus. Did you notice this year, a few weeks back, Christmas, there was never a mention of Jesus or Christ or anything? Of course you do. When they ask you to write out a form, and that online form says submit, it means that you bow before them. And we will come on to what bowing means and who them is. The gender reassignment program, ladies and gentlemen, the physical and spiritual mutilation of your children, which are no longer ward of state, which I will come back onto later, carries a death sentence. Children are no longer ward of state. They will not be ever ward of state. A child actually means slave. And all that information is on the judicial notice on my website. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the crimes against you as men and women are now so great, it is what is known as beyond forgiveness. And I will address that later on this broadcast. That is just the judicial notice. The judicial notice is when you have brought a fact in conventional language into any court, any government, any bureaucracy, anywhere in the world. As long as you are on my website by name, you can throw these documents on the floor and control that land, that courtroom land. That's the Constitution that I have drawn up, including with my students at large. You see, a couple of months ago, we got together, less than a couple of months ago, I beg your pardon. We all got together. This is from all demographics, all walks of life. There was even homeless people participating. That's the length and breadth we went to. And professionals of all manner that came together, I think over 70, and formulated that Constitution, making it a unique document. That Constitution is on my patrons' website, as well as my website. In order to participate, in order for you to engage, all the instructions are there. And your name, once you've done that, will be on my website, which gives you access to what I am teaching you. That's the power of when men and women come together to form and forge documents. Before I go into a larger document, ladies and gentlemen, I need to say a few more things. This Thursday, give me a few seconds while I organize my paper. This Thursday, today's Monday, which will be the 9th of March 2023, 11 p.m., I will be taking interviews, group interviews of those people that want to become coroners. Because every constitution needs a coroner to be able to distinguish which is what is living and that which is dead. That coroner's training is only open to my university students, the champions, the patriots, as well as live life claimants or people that have participated in the terms and conditions. In other words, if you have not been a student of mine, it is not open to you. The training for that I have put in as $650 to qualify you as a coroner. The interview will be on Thursday. Okay? Now, as I made it clear, only those people that are my students can apply, including the champions and the patriots, including the service processors. All of you can apply. That does not mean all of you will be chosen. Those ones that have actually done something with the documents that I have created and we have created, and actually have done servicing, actually did something. The doing word is the most important. They will be selected. In order to do that, tell us and show us the evidence of what you have done. That is, if you haven't done it already. Give us an ID. I withdraw the word ID, some sort of a proof of dwelling, and say your passport scanned, and just rub out or cancel out the serial number on your passport. That would be very helpful. Be concise, because this type of training does not take place just about anywhere in the world. I require coroners, as many as I can, in the US, in Europe, as well as Australia, Africa. In these very large continents, I require as many coroners as I possibly can. Now, I want to say this also. You can, if you do not wish to become a coroner, you can sponsor a coroner and the training. And when you make that sponsor, the amount of money you're going to put in, or whether you're going to be a regular contributor through the Patreons, I've given you my Bitcoin wallet. Take a screenshot, tell us what it's for, how much you put in, what date. And I've done that with PayPal. Do not call it a donation. I do not take donations. Okay? In addition to that, I've also given you my bank details. Tell us what the money is for. Otherwise, I would not know. That way you will be able to directly sponsor somebody to become a coroner that can't afford the 650. This does not mean that I'll be relaxed thinking, oh, they are poor or she is poor. You will be scrutinized. You will be tested for narcissism and psychopathy and so many of the subhuman conditions that plight our planet, our earth, our globe. After I've done that, I will start the training and recruitment for sheriffs for the global constitution. Okay, do not call it a new global constitution, because a global constitution has never been created in known history, which turns out to be about 180 years only. Quite remarkable, isn't it? So, if you wish to sponsor, all the details that you want to know is on my webpage. I also wish to say that those people that are already part of my staff cannot sponsor anybody, because they're part of the staff of the Federal Postal Court or my staff. These are the fail-safes I've put in to keep that integrity going. But you can forward a name that you would like to be sponsored. I ask you not to take advantage of anything that I'm teaching, because if you get caught, I will enjoy the experience of coming after you. I think you understand. When Alex was teaching yesterday, quantum grammar, there was a sentence that came up, which he said, when you have knowledge, you have no fear. You see, the judicial notice creates a shockwave in these governments, because when you are armed with this knowledge and they try to talk to you, they try to convince the police this is how it should be done, you just tell them, shut up, I'm not an actor. And Parliament is a house of liars. Here's the judicial notice. Talk to me and I will put you under arrest. Harass or even blink at me, I will put you under arrest, because I know that you have taken an oath for Parliament, not to the Crown or not to the people, but to a house of liars. Their system will collapse. That's the power of the judicial notice. I want to go on to the subject of the birth certificate. Can we go to the website, the US one? And on there, ladies and gentlemen, it will talk to you about a birth certificate. A birth certificate is nothing more than a legal instrument that holds you in servitude. That document originally was for you to conduct yourself in artificial affairs, artifacts, whether in your private or public capacity, but that was your possession. That was yours. What they did is they stole it from you, because your mother and your father, without their knowledge, informed upon you as being a bastard, and then later on lost or dead, whether that's at sea or on land or air. They did that by nom-de-guerring your name. That was one of the mechanisms. The other mechanism which you have to comprehend, the toxification of language. When they voluntarily, what appears to be voluntarily, got you to confess that you are everything and anything apart from being a man and or a woman. Sorry, I removed the word and or, a man or a woman. Can we go to the section of the live birth certificate? On my website, I have bought the package of the Live Life claim as well as the certificate of live birth to a whole new level, a level in which you can grasp and make use of a live birth certificate as well as, so I beg your pardon, a certificate of live birth as well as a Live Life claim. These two documents are the most powerful documents in your arsenal. Just as, so I withdraw the word arsenal, I'm being poetic. These are one, or if not two, of the most important documents in your hand. Just as a qualification of driving is your driving license, not a license to break the law, not a license to prostitute, but that is actually a qualification. And you call it. So next time a police officer pulls you over, don't accept him as a police officer, but as a constable. And say to him, here is my qualification. Here is my qualification to be on this road. And I am not commercial if you are domestic. And that puts him correct. If he says anything else, tell him, are you using color of the law to lie and steal from me? If you are, I'm going to put you under arrest for even talking to a man or a woman. That's the power of knowledge. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I'm looking at this. The training for the coroner, or the interview, as it were, which will be held, okay, is $750 US, not 650. So you make sure that you have provided us with the necessary proof for you to apply for it. What does a coroner do? It distinguishes the living from the dead, whether you are a solicitor or a man and a woman, which is in possession of this earth, this globe, this planet, and with the judicial notice and a constitution for the whole world. When Matthew and Janine, two of the leaders in the task force, as well as service processors, went to the Nigerian embassy in London and served them the judicial notice and the global constitution, they saw a book. Can you remind me of the name of the book, please?
Our own Nigeria, about 200 million, mostly Poles. How greedy Britons invented psychotic Christianity in Nigeria.
So you can see that title. In all reality, ladies and gentlemen, it's easy to blame it on the British, isn't it? And not take any responsibility for what those freakish witch doctors did to you. One of them, of course, is Nelson Mandela. Another one of them is what you call Bishop Tutu. Another one of them was in the UN who got a Nobel Prize for Peace. What's his name? Kofi Annan, I believe. The three wise monkeys. I say that sarcastically. You see, the vulgarity of what these people have done to you carries the death sentence, because so much of their acts, as it were, collided into the audience, endangered, killed the public. In other words, it was no longer a theatre show, but it directly collided with the public and it took life. and they are sentenced to death. Don't ever believe, ladies and gentlemen, that your own people are the ones that are not doing this, but some other mysterious race like the British. I promise you, there are no British people that will do that, or English people. But these freaks are very good at blaming other people. This is to the champions meeting that takes place usually a fortnight. When I was there this Thursday, there were so many people there. Like, just get on with it. They absolutely get on with it. And what they have done is completely shook the world of fiction and got them running back to their freakish world that they come from, where we're just simply going to shine a torchlight on them and they evaporate into nothing. The ones that have caused so much damage, they are going to be, sorry, I beg your pardon, they are already sentenced to death. I've already signed, I've already autographed, authorized those executions, what they call terminations. The Universal Postal Union is the means by which every man and woman, including governments, including the smallest to the highest, communicate. It is the global contracting venue of this world. The fact that the current Director General and its management team allows such use of language as Nigerian, non-de-geared names, allowing the postal network and the various franchises that signed up to it, the fact that they allowed it makes them incompetent to run such an organization. So I am taking over the Director General's position of the Universal Postal Union, and they will follow the global constitution and the judicial notice. I will now come on to the document that I sent off to the Commander Generals as well as for this country. It is a matter of congruence. In other words, there will be no deliberate misunderstanding of what I say. And they are the defenders of the faith, the hope, as well as the charity. And I told them that I hope this letter finds you in good spirits, mind, and body. I've also reminded them that all men and women, whatever position they hold, are free. Without freedom, ladies and gentlemen, there are no choices. I thank them also for the help, indirectly and directly, that they have offered me. And I do apologize when a particular member of the royal family offered help to me. I shunned it, because I too became subject to all the brainwashing and the lies that I told. So I shunned it. For this, I am sorry. I should have taken up the offer much, much more earlier. Though bad conduct and bad behavior, bad conduct is what men and women do as good conduct. Behavior is corporate. It's what corporations do. like McDonald's and etc. There is no reason why, in reality, of bad conduct. In that sense, I am apologetic without offering any reasons, because there can never be any reasons for bad conduct. For this, I am genuinely sorry. In the matters of the paper bull, which is Catholic, and the letters patent, I have sole control over that. And the various bureaucracies are my agents. And I have made it very clear that in the matters of people that have done wrong, they are to be purged. The purge actually has begun. The purge, ladies and gentlemen, is when you take off their masks. The masks that they gave false names to. The masks that they falsely tried to get you to wear, called a variant spelling name. Their conduct has been so awful that millions have died from their toxification, from their false broadcast. And the magnitude is so hard to express in education, in warfare, what they call a theater of war. That's what they call it, a theater. So many lives have been lost that there is nowhere for them to go apart from to be executed, terminated. And I have authorized those terminations. You see, when I am speaking about that type of barbarism, heinous crimes, there are very few words or sentences that I can use to elaborate as to what even hideous means. So I'm stuck using those words in a clinical way. Because of the nature of the global constitution, it creates the foundation for a level plane where people are not disabled by bureaucracies, politicians, actors, liars, etc. And the Privy Council, ladies and gentlemen, questions was asked of the Privy Council. I'll come on to that later. These educational programs that I've put out are to flood into countries like Nigeria, to establish good faith, hope, charity. Parliament has no access to any monarch, because things that speak lies cannot have access to monarchs. Monarch just simply means one arch. Like, say, a particular bridge that crosses over River Thames that has one arc. That's a monarch. Where there are monarchs, they are just simply multiple arches, like those bridges in River Thames or on River Thames. Or a single, which is a monarch, like in Marble Arch. Now, what Parliament does is tries to act as the middleman to be able to sidetrack you into what your power really is by these buffoons pretending to be anything of an authority. They are actors, and all of their lands has been confiscated, including their money. In regards to the Prime Minister, who wished he had the ability to pay the nurses a fair amount of compensation, not wages, compensation has been granted. and it can be backdated by 3 years. The corporations, cooperatives, in fact, every country in the world that tries to form some sort of a trust based upon deceit, what they call parliamentary proceedings, are just practicing deceit, and they have no access, and all trust formations have been broken because they are liars. Since mortgages, ladies and gentlemen, is a French corruption, the French will honor their death pledges. Men and women don't have death pledges, but these people decided to play that game. And in that sense, I've taken over the puny service, the HMR tribunal services, its court systems, and put those punies to bury the dead, which is the corruption. I would use the mechanism of burying the dead to bury the dead. Zero tolerance, ladies and gentlemen, is not ever tolerating parliaments or MPs that speak lies or tolerate corruption, what they call the French corruption. Virtually every country in the world uses a parliamentary system, which means lies. As Matthew chapter 8:22 says, let the dead bury the dead. I have initiated that program. I've also taken over the Privy Council globally. The Privy Council, the privileged councils, all over the world, this includes the Middle East, Egypt, and etc., have no access to letters patent or monarchs or paper bulls. The Privy Council hereon have a permanent, perpetual claim of a public-private partnership authorized and released by me for my agents for the purposes of investigating the Privy Council's affairs and its matters in every detail. The Privy Council will fully cooperate with all men and women, agents, police, etc. The Privy Council is to be fully investigated as a public-private partnership. The investigation is to be completed within the next 30 days of the date of this letter. If foul conduct is found, the Privy Council or any of its members, the Lord Spiritual, will banish, excommunicate, expel the Privy Council. In the matters of temporal matters, the Lord's temporal will bring ruin to the perpetrators. As Romans chapter 12, verse 19 quite clearly puts it, dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, and I will repay, saith the Lord. So I have put the Lord's and spiritual temporal at work. Trafalgar Square, ladies and gentlemen, is the home of the Four Corner Rule, and it hosts many of these corruptions. I have taken over the Trafalgar Square, and I am correcting the corruption that has taken place there with South Africa, with Canada House, and all of the embassies that surround it, i.e. the Strand. They too will be adhering to the global constitution. The various churches of England, which lie empty, 18,000 or so, I am making into places of education where the principles of the small school This is where Prince Charles went near Harrods. It is wise for the parents to form committees, to come together and form schools based upon the Global Constitution and the Judicial Notice. And this is my way of purging the corruption in the language, the toxification, and the weaponization of language. Now, the treasurer of the inner temple, its lands, all of it, the buildings, the businesses, are now all my property. And that they know what that claim means. The British Broadcasting Corporation, known as the BBC, will follow the Global Constitution and the Judicial Notice. The whole world will be educated through the British Broadcasting Corporation as to what the theatre of war, theatre of commerce, the operating theatre, theatre of politics factually means. Not actually, because the word actually means the things that actors do. That is why it is such a powerful word in the working class men and women's vocabulary, to get you believing you are nothing more than actors, and actors cannot make contract. So every time you so proudly say, actually, what you should be saying is factually. And if it's a matter of trust, then you need 3 people to verify that it is a trust document. And that does not need to be a fact. That's another trick that they pulled on you. They get 3 people to agree upon a lie and try to make that into a fact. That is why I gave you the solution with the Live Life claims and the live birth, the certificate of live birth, the means to break that trust. It is a very powerful document claim, which is used to record on my website. My website, mkchristopher.com, is earmarked to be the largest university of its kind. The largest. We are talking about 40, 50,000 students will be on that website. The fact that I have 1.56 or 1.6 billion views, my name has come up, Mark Kishon Christopher, in about 1/6 of the population. That is 1 in every 6 people know my name. Yeah. The word, ladies and gentlemen, is getting out, and has not to make it about myself. I made sure that there are champions. I made sure that there are coroners. I made sure that there is sufficient amount of people that are of goodwill, good thought, good conduct, to be able to make these affairs on my behalf, which are on my website. If they are not, they are lying to you. I've also commissioned the BBC to make a production of the 1968 Newsbenders, a similar program to that explains the corruption. You see, ladies and gentlemen, to be in the private means that you do no harm. And since the Bank of International Settlements, the Bank of England, the 12 Federal Reserve banks in the US, and all of its other franchises have bought scarcity, they have bought insecurity. They have unstabilized food supply, energy, told lies upon lies that their position to be in the private is no longer feasible. They're out of the private and into the public. And anyone that is authorized by me has a public-private partnership. Or I can create it exclusively as a private situation. I promise you, you bankers, you will hang, but you will first of all fear. You will know what mortification is, and then your lives are terminated. The various energy companies throughout the world will buy anybody that is showing an autograph, thumbprint, will accept your terms and conditions for any gas payments, energy, water, etc., without question. On a global level, ladies and gentlemen, on a planetary level, on a global level, all around the planet, all around the earth, I have banned taxes. Inheritance tax, council tax, property tax, value-added tax are banned throughout the planet, globe, earth, etc. And a consumer levy will be placed on non-essential goods and services. The levy will run on what they call luxury items. And you can define what is essential. Take advantage of it, you will not get away with it. You see, I found out taxes are paid by slaves. You know that from my resource center where it says tax go-ins. Inheritance tax is what dead people do. Inheritance means no heritage. That's why the aristocrats have heritage. Why they don't have inheritance but have heritance. The language is so foul, so toxic, you have no choice but to wipe your butt with it and send it back to them. By the way, don't use the mail. If you do, then seal it and send it by some other means, because you don't want to send specimens in the post now, do you? Because I own that. The things that I'm speaking about should be checked by you. Historically, what has been achieved so far before you understand what I'm talking about. If you don't, do your homework. You owe it to yourself. If you're going to do nothing, just leave. There's no space here for you. I'm not giving you any space, any time. In the matter of child kidnapping, organ harvesting, and all those other vulgar things that they have doing, I have put certain people in position to show no mercy, as well as be the guardians of children. The people that steal children for profit are called rapists, and rapists in every country in the world are hung, especially when they rape children. The police, ladies and gentlemen, universally are now constables. There are no police officers. And where there are police officers, it is to make sure they police corporations and various things that require officers. Men and women cannot be controlled by police officers. Constables are there to make sure that these corporations do not trespass upon living men and women. The pharmaceutical industry has caused the death of so many people that they are earmarked for termination as well. Any one of these people, once they've been serviced the global constitution and the judicial notice, if they have not corrected it within the next 3 days of being serviced, you can consider your life forfeit by your own conduct. I've also made it clear for the people in these various privy councils or privy positions that have done good, that have seeded hope, that have shown faith and charity, they will be fully protected and given the means by which to further the things that they have already shown to do. Just because a group of people may be members in the Privy Council does not deem them bad or good, but their conduct does. And for those people that show good conduct, they will have full protection. On a last note, ladies and gentlemen, although I have rushed through this document, Charlotte will create a summary of it and put it on my website. If I was to go on to it in detail, it would take 2-3 hours for me to stand here and talk about it. So a summary will be created on my website sometime this week or next week. The subject matter that I'm now going to speak about is so important that your very existence is based upon it. These corporations and these wicked men and women, hiding under privacy and hiding under all manner of these things, nearly got nature to her knees. In other words, they were hoping that they can control the atmosphere, the oxygen level, and essentially hold nature to ransom. So the people on this planet will have to work themselves to death in order to breathe the air that they do. When we went into lockdown, I heard earth scientists as well as one particular professor. The earth scientist I heard say that the earth has recovered by 25% in terms of that is how much green growth there is all around the world just in that 2 years. That's how quickly, just like our bodies, the earth heals itself. And this particular professor said that there is 15% just in the last 2 years. That's how quickly the earth recovered. For the people that try to unbalance nature and destroy the flora and the fauna that we are all survive on, I authorize the armed forces to terminate their life, and I will take full responsibility for that. Your lives are forfeit, and you are to be terminated if you have not already been terminated. If you check the newspapers, the paedophile rings have now gone missing and the peoples around it. Missing in the sense they're no longer on this planet. Whether you die by a cord around your neck or a bullet in your head, I do not care. But you unbalanced nature, you die. You die, you are terminated. And that purge has already begun. You touched children. You extracted chemicals that feed into your fucked up world. And I am not apologetic for that word. For that, there is no forgiveness. and the termination is already started. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your world. Don't ever allow corporations or houses of lies to get away from it. You point to them and you tell them, shut up, you pathetic buffoon, because we know who you are. And we are service providers for the Chief Federal Postal Court judge. We are champions of the task and force. We are students of Mark Kishon Christopher. Put the full colons in if you want. All your names are on my website, and you are authorized to arrest anybody you think has caused harm because you have evidence for it. You have evidence for it. You do to them what they have been trying to do to you. If you see a Nigerian, tell him what the word means. So every Nigerian, so-called Nigerian, can pick up these politicians and defecate into their mouths. That every witch doctor knows that there are so-called Nigerian people ready to shit into your mouths. And I make no apologies. As I mentioned to you, when people conduct themselves in such god-awful manner that is condemned by even the minor of gods, you will have no respect from me or anybody else. The purge, ladies and gentlemen, has truly begun. To you champions and my students at large, see it within yourself as to the fortitude that you have and the duties that you have to your world, to your family, to your neighbor, to the flora and the fauna, and that justice is done. For the school teachers and the schools that have been forcing, ladies and gentlemen, to take up pedophiles into their lives, that have been forcing children to say that I don't think you are a boy, you are probably a girl, again and again repeating it until they agree to some sort of transgender surgery. It has already been publicized in the Telegraph that a death sentence will be passed. It is no longer philosophical. The point where you are at that moment, in this moment, you have forfeited your life. Yes, you can ask for mercy, and mercy can be given where mercy is asked for. But that does not mean that you will not be punished for what you have done. Liars lie because they know the so-called truth. They know the truth. That is why they lie. Thank you very much for listening to me, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you all the best, and hopefully that I withdraw the word hopefully. I almost use these words because I never expected the crimes to be so heinous that they would actually mutilate children under your watch and under my watch. And it has caused me to almost lose my vocabulary. I used to be fairly eloquent, but now I feel it's a waste on these people. Just past termination on them, just past the death sentence. They don't belong on our planet. What would you do to people that would mutilate your son, your 5-year-old son, your 10-year-old daughter? Anybody that stops you from doing that is committing treason, and that is punishable by hanging. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.